Hi everyone, I'm Allison Beamer, and today I'm going to give a lesson talk on Lorraine Jansen Cuistra's lesson plan, curating a Victorian poem in the context of its cultural moment. Let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so let's break it down. What is this project? Well, students are going to curate a poem in a digital exhibit shared online with classmates and beyond the classroom to a wider online community of 19th century scholars and interested citizens. So what does that mean? It means they're going to take their project, they're going to take a poem, they're going to curate it, they're going to post it online to an online forum, and anyone interested in 19th century lit has access to it. How are they going to do that? Well, they're going to use NINES, which is Networked Infrastructure for 19th Century Electronic Scholarship. And they also may use other approved databases. Taking the information that they find, they're going to create an exhibit, an abstract, and also an annotated bibliography. They're going to have 13 weeks to put all of this together, and luckily they don't have to do it alone because they will be working in pairs. These are the unit objectives. There are 3 of them. It asks that students establish an effective research question, that they be able to critically situate and analyze a Victorian poem in the visual or material context of its publication, and also asks that students develop online publishing skills and editing skills and gain insight into the professional practice of digital scholarship. So these are just the objectives. We don't need to get into it too much. I want to start breaking down the unit for you. What are we going to need? Lorraine specifies a Victorian poem, but she also puts in romantic and American lit. So then tech that we've already talked about NINES, but then you will also need blogging software and then instructor approved scholarly databases. And all of these things are probably going to need a tutorial for the students so that they know how to use them. I went on to NINES and it took me a while to figure it out, and then it took me even longer to figure out where she was even saying they needed to post up their stuff. But if it took me a while to understand it, I don't think it's fair to have students work on their own. So all of these things, you're going to want to have tutorials to show the students this is where the information is, this is how you begin the process. Now, if you are still confused, I have a breakdown of the breakdown. So students are to choose a poem and then several images are just rendered of said poem. So if you look at the 2 examples, the bottom left, that is just a snippet of a poem, The Lady of Shalott. And then if you look on the right, that is an artist's rendering of what they think that the Lady of Shalott looks like. And this is how they're going to curate it. They're going to take a poem, then they're going to take pictures that have been inspired or that were co-created or coincide with the poem and its artwork. And that's how it's going to work. Then they are going to take all that research that they find on the poem and on the images. They are going to pick several images. It's not going to be just one. There will be several images in it. And they are going to take all that information that they learn and read, and as they are reading that information, they're going to form a research question, and then the end result, the end exhibit, is how they take everything they've learned from their poem and everything they've found on the creation of the art that goes with it, and then also commentary on what's going on during that time period, and all of that will coalesce into their final presentation. Now you can have a schedule. So there are 2 schedules for this whole project. The first schedule is what needs to be done when in order to have your annotated bib and your abstract ready. The second schedule is going to be what do you need to have done when to have the actual exhibit completed. So this is for weeks 1 through 5, and this is for the annotated bibliography in the abstract. The first week, study the requirements. Because how can you do any of this if you don't know what you're doing and what is required? Choose the poem, because again, in order to do this entire thing, you need a poem. Preliminary research is going to be week 3. So with your partner, this is when you're going to like sort of dip your toe in per se and start doing the research and developing your guiding research question. Then you've got weeks 3 through 5, and this is where you are gathering, you are researching, you are creating the abstract. This is where you start taking all the information, putting it down on paper into the form that the teacher is asking for. And then week 5, that's due. And you're done with that, that's due. So this is the schedule for the digital exhibit. It's weeks 1 all the way to week 13. The first week, you got to choose your text. You need to know where this is all beginning, and that's with the poem that you choose. Week 2, this is where the visual comes in, where they're picking their visuals that are going to coincide with the text. Weeks 3 and all the way to 8, research like crazy. There should already be a guiding research question, and this is where they are answering it. Weeks 7 through 10, assign roles and start putting all the pieces together. This is where they're putting it all on paper. This is where they're organizing it. This is where they should already basically have their answer, and now they're putting it on paper and they're organizing it in a way to exhibit it, right? Weeks 12 through 13, presentation and self-assessment. Side note, self-assessment, super important in all things, and I'm really glad that that is part of this unit. Let's see how this whole lesson holds up against the Triple E framework, which looks at engagement, enhancement, and extension, in order to see if units that use technology are worthwhile. So when we look at engagement, it asks if the technology allows for students to stay focused, motivated, and is there a shift in behavior? All 3 of these things are check marked for this unit. I would say that their technology does allow for students to stay focused in how they utilize nines. They are motivated in that they are asking their own question and finding that answer, and that shift in behavior goes to that motivation, that shift in, okay, instead of answering questions that teachers give me, I'm going to find my own question and my own answer. As far as enhancement goes, are there high level thinking skills and pathways created in which students demonstrate knowledge? Definitely. They're demonstrating knowledge in a way that could not be done without the tech, in the way that they are going on nines and exhibiting their work. And then let's look at extension. Are there opportunities for learning outside of the classroom? Yes, because they're using this website. They're learning how to utilize this website. And whenever they are looking for answers to questions that they have, they now know how to do that outside of a classroom. Does it create a bridge between the classroom and classroom learning and everyday experiences? For sure. Students now can go online and speak their mind and know how to back everything they're saying up with actual claims and research, and it allows students to grow as learners as well. All right, so modifications. I would definitely make some modifications to this lesson plan. The first thing I want to make noted is that this lesson was originally created for a college course, a college level class, and I will be teaching middle and high school. And so for me, one of the things I really want to do is make the groups larger. 2 people works when they're adults and, just better at time management and understanding how they work. But for students in a high school, asking 2 students to get all of this work done, it just seems like a little overboard, a little too much, a little too rigorous. But if you do it in larger groups, that makes it more feasible. The other thing I would not do is I would not teach this in a middle school. I think that would probably be too young. But high school, this whole lesson can be modified to fit high school for sure. I'd also choose a broader topic. The Victorian period is a lovely period. The only thing is, I'm not sure that students could find poems that they felt they could identify with, that they felt reflected them, whether it be their culture or their beliefs. The Victorian period just doesn't fit for everyone, which is why I suggest something like civil rights movements. And that could be, women's rights through any period of time in which women were, fighting for those rights. It could be the farm labor movement. It could be child labor rights movement. And those are areas I think any student could find something that they see themselves in, because a lot of it was about empowerment. And so I think they can find images and poetry like that easier. The other thing I would do is a different database, because nines wouldn't work. 19th century lit is too narrow a search, and I want the students to be able to look for things beyond the 19th century, because there have been two others. So a broader database for a broader topic search is another thing that I would definitely do as a modification. I do have some concerns about the unit. Access is one of them. So if your internet is slow or the server you're trying to access is slow, that can be very frustrating. It can be disheartening, and they both can definitely cause a delay in getting work done. And for high school students, this is not the only class they would be taking. And so getting hung up on not being able to access something because of their internet could be really frustrating and get them disengaged from the unit altogether. Limited free resources is another issue. I have definitely done research on my own in which one of the sources I clicked on was unavailable without a subscription. And so I had to either try and hunt down a free version of that source or just throw it out completely and find a whole new one. And asking students to pay any type of money for a subscription for research to get through a unit is just unfair. Um, so again, that's probably why I added the broader databases, so that students have more places to search for information and not face that not be limited, should I say, to one or two sites. The last concern of mine is cultural relevance. How relatable is the Victorian period? I just don't know. To the average teenager, what are they going to find in there that they really feel they want to explore? And perhaps I am underestimating teenagers, and that they could really find this rigorous and engaging. But I would just pick a different topic that I knew somewhere in there students would find something that they relate to, which is like the civil rights movement. I'm sure there are a lot of other ones out there. These are my concerns: access and cultural relevance. I don't think I have any more, so let's move on. Let's conclude this presentation. You know what it means now to curate a poem in the context of its cultural moment. I've broken down the what, the how, and the why of it all. There are a few things I would change. It's triple E certified, and now you have one more lesson in your toolbox. Thanks everyone. I'm Allison Beamer, and thanks for checking out my lesson talk.